A man finds himself trapped at the bottom of a canyon, where a strange woman demands offspring from him. It all begins in a desert where a lonely child stumbles, gnawing on something and searching for his mother. A few miles away, a car is driving down a road that soon leads to a dead end in the middle of the desert. The man exits the car and sets off on foot. This is Wyndham, a photographer who came here to capture the solar eclipse. After taking a few photos and noticing that the day is coming to an end, the man tries to return to his car but unexpectedly meets a teenage boy who seems lost and scared. Wyndham is ready to help, but the boy doesn't seem very keen on it. He points in the direction where he lost his parents and walks away. Attempting to help the boy find his way home, Wyndham follows him, but the boy rudely refuses his help and disappears. Wyndham lies down on the ground to sleep, but he can't drift off, replaying the events of the day in his mind. Suddenly, he hears strange sounds. He walks in that direction and soon finds stakes with ropes stretched between them, from which bottles hang. It was their melodic ringing that he heard in the desert. Before him is a large canyon, at the bottom of which stands a wooden house, around which a woman walks and sings. Wyndham asks for help, but she enters the house as if not hearing him. He then finds a metal staircase leading down and descends it. However, the stairs only reach halfway down the canyon, with the rest being a simple rope ladder. Wyndham climbs down and approaches the house. He knocks persistently but gets no response. So, he opens the door himself and steps inside. The woman, standing by the stove, greets him calmly, as if she had been expecting his arrival. She offers him dinner, and although he refuses, she pours soup and places it in front of him. Wyndham is grateful but keeps talking about the possibility of leaving this strange place. He tells her about the boy he met and asks for water. The woman, named Alina, offers him to lie down and rest until morning, and he agrees. He lies down in the place she shows him, watching as Alina tidies herself up, noting that she is young and beautiful. The next morning, Wyndham packs his things and goes outside, hoping to find a way home, but, strangely enough, he cannot find the stairs he used to descend yesterday. Without them, it is impossible to reach the metal part. He returns to the house, takes out his camera, and snaps pictures of the surroundings and the drawings on the canyon walls. Everything is rather grim and reminiscent of death in all its forms. Then he notices Alina repairing the roof and asks her about the missing stairs, but she either doesn't understand or pretends not to. Although from her words it's implied that there are other inhabitants here, she doesn't say anything directly. Wyndham searches the canyon, periodically calling for help, but nothing changes. Later, Alina asks him to take off his clothes so she can wash them, saying it's not proper to return home so dirty. The man is forced to comply. That night, he cannot sleep, goes outside, and once again tries to find an exit, but there is still none. In the morning, Wyndham searches the house and finding a hammer tries to climb the canyon wall. Suddenly, he notices movement above, and then the carcass of a chicken falls down. Losing his balance, he falls to the ground. Wyndham regains consciousness in the darkness, his leg injured by his own hammer, and he screams in pain. Alina rushes over and helps him, but she doesn't answer his questions about the children he glimpsed at the edge of the canyon. For several days he suffers from a fever, unable to distinguish day from night, or whether he is really seeing children around him. Eventually he recovers and limps outside. He demands that Alina order the children above to pull him out, but she continues to pretend not to understand him. She offers him to stay, as she is ready to care for him and look after his life, but Wyndham has no need for this at all. He wants to return home to his affairs. Rather rudely, he pushes the girl away, refusing any help. The man inspects his leg and realizes that he won't be able to use it fully for quite some time. Suddenly, he hears voices from above and, looking up, sees the boy holding the hand of a little girl. The pair cheerfully offer help, and after learning that he wants to be pulled up, the boy promises to bring ropes and lift him using a pulley. But before leaving, the boy asks a strange question about his favorite color. Wyndham says red and desperately begs them to hurry. The boy and the girl leave, and Wyndham checks his pocket for his wallet, not planning to return for any other belongings. Soon, a rope drops from above, and the same boy advises him to tie it tightly, which Wyndham does. They begin to pull him up, and the man eagerly anticipates his imminent escape, but halfway up, the rope stops. Dangling over the canyon, Wyndham screams and tries to climb the rope himself, but he lacks the strength. He hangs helplessly under the relentless sun. He regains consciousness from the sensation of moisture, but upon lifting his head, he sees the boy mocking him. More unstable children, from the youngest to older ones, appear at the edge of the canyon. They are all dressed in clothes clearly taken from other people and behave inappropriately, mocking Wyndham. They start swinging the rope, causing him to crash against the canyon wall. Instinctively, he calls out to Alina for help. He sees the woman shouting angrily at the children, but soon loses consciousness after another blow against the wall. At night, he wakes up in bed and immediately tries to get up. Alina doesn't understand where he's going, but he's willing to do anything to escape. The woman explains that the children are homeless, gathered from the desert, and survive however they can. Neither of them notices that while they talk, the children are standing at the edge, watching the house's windows ablaze. The next day, the man watches as Alina releases a bird into the wild, and he envies her ability to fly. She brings him clothes from somewhere, even though he didn't ask for it, and her care touches him. Time passes. One day, Wyndham plants a large garden at the bottom of the canyon. Occasionally, the children bring them things, food and drinks, which surprises Wyndham since there are no stores nearby. He doesn't understand this treatment. First they feed him, then they mock him, but Alina takes it all in stride. The man becomes more involved in the household, intrigued by the silent hostess. One night he tries to ask her questions, but their conversation is interrupted by shouts from the yard. Alina asks him not to go outside when the children act like this, but he runs into the night and sees the boys, dressed in dirty clothes, gathered around the house. They start mocking him, pushing and hitting him, but suddenly vanish into the darkness. The man has had enough and demands answers. Who are these children? Why do they live here? And why does she stay in this terrible place? But the woman remains calm, never admitting that she's become a hostage of a gang of wild, feral children. That same night, she freshens up and comes to Wyndham. Feeling lonely, he gives in. After some time, Wyndham's garden begins to sprout. One day, a boy in a cap calls to him from above, treating him kindly and promising to bring some cola. The man returns to his plants and unexpectedly finds a wedding ring and car keys buried in the sand. In the evening, Alina shows him a portrait of a woman, calling her the first mother, and confesses that she's expecting his child. Stunned, the man can't believe what he's hearing. He never intended to have children here, and certainly not with an uneducated girl. He yells at Alina, but eventually, he has no choice but to accept it. The next morning, he sees his garden ravaged by local birds. Alina eagerly helps him restore the crops, which makes him feel grateful. Gradually, life in the house takes on a certain order. The girl manages the household, while Wyndham runs, working on rehabilitating his leg. One day, the boy in the cap returns. Wyndham asks him to help Alina, as she is expecting a child and needs a doctor. The man asks the boy to bring a rope and something heavy to use as a counterweight. He plans to climb up and take them to the city, where he can take care of the woman and the boy. The boy promises to do everything when everyone falls asleep or leaves, but then one of the older ones shows up and takes him away. Later, Wyndham tells Alina that the boy wants to learn, that he's smart, different from the others, and wants to live a different life, and that he would like to help her and him as well. But Alina finds this odd. She tries to understand what the boy could be missing here. When Wyndham talks about freedom, Alina is puzzled, saying that no one forbids anything here. So isn't this freedom? Wyndham then tells her about the world, recalling the ocean and a cheeseburger. Alina doesn't know what that is, so Wyndham explains what the dish consists of. The woman admits that her mother used to say that illusions live outside, while here, in the desert, everything is real. Wyndham pulls out his camera and shows her photos taken the day he arrived here. But the woman is not amazed by the solar eclipse, but by the accidentally captured moment in the car and the music playing on the recording. That night, he again dreams of the terrifying faces of the children tormenting someone. In the morning, Alina's terrifying scream echoes from the yard. Rushing outside, Wyndham sees the boy strung up on cables over the canyon. His bloody cap lies on the ground. The wild children stand at the edge, laughing. Alina suddenly declares that brothers don't act this way. She accuses Wyndham of her son's death and hits him over the head with a board. When he regains consciousness, Wyndham finds himself in a cage. Despite his pleas and begging, Alina has no intention of letting him out. She feeds him like an animal, and her children come to watch his suffering. One day, he spots a girl standing at the edge of the canyon. She's clearly not local. Wyndham attracts her attention, though he's terrified to shout for fear of waking Alina. Whispering, he begs the girl to call for help. She understands him, promises to do everything needed, and leaves, vowing to return soon. The man waits, holding out hope for rescue. Watching the heavily pregnant Alina working around the house, Wyndham suddenly hears screams and sees that the wild children have caught the girl. They drag her to the canyon edge and demonstratively kill her in front of him. Wyndham sits in the cage, an unwilling witness to the grotesque rituals performed by Alina, her children, and brothers. One day, he unexpectedly admits that he wants to stay here forever, raise his child, and love Alina, who will be his queen. He promises to teach the child everything he knows, and is ready to devote himself fully, as it is his choice. However, when Alina hears the word choice, she laughs. She tells him that he never had a choice. He's just a seed, blown here by the wind, and the child is hers alone. He will stay in the cage until the baby is born, and then, in the desert, nothing goes to waste. Finally, the day of the birth arrives. Alina screams in the house while Wyndham paces in the cage. The woman approaches him, begging for help, as she has never had such a difficult labor before. She releases Wyndham from the cage, and he tries to ease her pain as best he can. The children stand at the edge of the canyon watching the events unfold. Suddenly, Wyndham sees a ladder descending from above, but Alina screams, and he stays by her side. The child is born during a solar eclipse. Wyndham takes the baby girl in his arms, kissing her, overjoyed to have become a father. Alina begs him to give her the child. When she gets the baby, she promises to feed and protect her until she becomes the new mother. Then she will fulfill her purpose, just as Wyndham has fulfilled his now. At that moment, the boy sneaks up and kills Wyndham, rejoicing and declaring that he's doing it for his mother. Later, Alina gathers Wyndham's belongings and places them in a chest, then goes to the baby, promising her that everything will be fine. Meanwhile, Wyndham's body decays inside the house, with grass growing through it.